Maestro, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, especially what we're going to talk about now. But before we get into it, I think I saw you post something saying that it's been 3 years since you made the big move from Toronto. How has the move been, and how is the family adjusting to the move?
Well, the family's adjusted. Thank you very much, Rudy. I mean, we do all we can for family. Family's first. That's the priority. Everything else is secondary. So from that perspective, all things considered, it was a great move. Thank you. Who would have thought 3 years would have gone by so quickly? When I think about it, within the last 3 months, Rudy, I filmed 2 TV series and just finished and wrote and recorded a 10-song album, kids album, man, within the last 3 months. So it's been very eventful for me, definitely.
How do you do that when you have such a massive legacy? You make a move. You're a father. You're so many different things, and still make time in recording music, whether it be adult hip hop, children's music. I mean, I'm still waiting for a certain character that you did for going back to school for his own cartoon series. I mean, you do all these things, and of course, you're the guy behind the barbecue. How do you do all of these things, man?
Everybody has a 9 to 5. Mine is just, I guess it's seen in a different way. But like, you could be construction worker, plumber, doctor, physician, plumber. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is we take care of our families. We do whatever it is. My 9 to 5, it just so happens to be in the realm of multimedia, and so it's something that people see in different capacities, whether it's me being on Mr. D for 8 seasons, or me being featured in a new song, or what have you. But that's the 9 to 5. It seems very it seems kind of sexy in a lot of ways, right? But it's tough. But it's a 9 to 5. The main thing is, we're trying to provide for our families, man.
That's very true. But you provide for the Canadian music industry. You have done so much. And the two words behind me, heritage, Polaris, is now connected to your legacy, my friend, because you are the winner this year for 2023 on receiving this award for the album that started it all. It was the album that when you pushed the button, that's when the rocket set off. Symphony in Effect. How does it feel having the work you did back then to be recognized today in such a major way?
Yeah, I'm thrilled, man. I'm definitely thrilled. Like, it just reminds me of my producers, Peter and Anthony Davis of First Offense. Productions, they produced majority of the album, and I had additional help with my man S. Blank from Flemington Park and Beat Factory. I did a track with them too, as well. And it seems like it was a team effort to make this happen. And I think of Much Music and their impact. And I just went to an event last night, man. I saw Mike Williams and Rick the Temp. We just went down memory lane, and I just remember being at Electric Circus when Stevie B performed. Sorry, the legendary Stevie B performed, and I just so happened to be in the room performing "Let Your Back Room Slide" for the first time, and him making that connection with the label he's on, and then the rest is history. So that's what I think of. I think of what we did back in the days, and I think that like I said, we don't make records, we make history. Definitely.
And you did that. And you absolutely did that. I want to go back into creation of this album, and even maybe a little bit further back, because I know you've talked about your history with hip hop and when it began and growing up in Scarborough, correct? Growing up in Scarborough. What was that like for you growing up and discovering those beats? And also, because living in Scarborough and living in the Toronto area, it wasn't just, I know for me growing up, it wasn't just what I heard in America. It was what I heard from the islands, from so many other cultures, because Toronto is a true melting pot.
Yeah, on top of that, we used to listen to a lot of Q107, a lot of rock. So I grew up listening to Rush, which is like the greatest Toronto group of all time, man. Arguably the greatest Toronto group of all time. Grew up listening to These Eyes by the Guess Who, a lot of rock, as well as, what my dad was playing at home, which was like reggae, calypso, soca, jazz, and hip hop. He was the one who put me on to Rapper's Delight, because he was always a fan of new music. The very first time I ever performed was in my I was in the 6th grade at Our Lady Good Counsel Catholic School in Scarborough, Midland and Finch. My teacher selected a poem that I wrote to be able to be, say in front of the whole school. But I performed it in rap form, like, like some Pigmeat Markham / Rapper's Delight type cadence. And everybody started clapping like, yo, this is dope. But she just gave me a look after like, that's not what I signed you up for. But I was onto something there, definitely.
When the Toronto scene, the Canadian scene, when they were trying to find themselves in hip hop, how were you maneuvering around with that? Because you weren't known as Maestro Fresh West just yet.
Yeah. I went by the name of Melody MC. And like I said, it's something I love doing. I got good at it, not right away. It took a lot of work for me to get good at. Shout out to my DJ, Greg, Nathaniel. He's the one who put me on to Peter and Anthony and who produced Backbone Slide. But that was my thing, man. Just believing in myself and knowing that everybody is onto something. You had Mishi Me on the other side of town, trying to do her thing. You had Beat Factory, which was like a conglomerate of everybody, which was including, and this late now we're moving from 1982 talks to like 1987, 88 talks now. Yep. You know what I mean? But they were a conglomerate, and I tried to get down with them at one point, but when I saw the roster of all the MCs, I felt, respectfully, I was just as good or better than anybody. So if I was to rock with them, if they were interested, I'd be like the bottom of the totem pole, because they have their history they have their, their priorities. So that's when I had to, really, man up and do my own thing, continue to do like my own promotion. Me and Farley used to work at a spot called Wizards. And the one thing he told me, Wizards was like a sports bar in Scarborough. And one thing he told me, I was like this, I was one of the cooks in the back, and he was one of the bouncers who'd come in after college. He'd come back and we just connected. And one thing he told me is like, if you ever need help, let me know. So I came to him with a complete package, which was ready for promotion. And I know that kind of overwhelmed him as well, because he came out of business school and he wants to connect with other people that he went to high school with who graduated and went to university and start their own businesses together, what have you. But then there's a brother who used to work with Wizards with a package that was more professional done than he's ever seen. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely work together, and we continue to try to do some cool things. And like I said, being on Electric Circus for the second time, that was the straw right there that broke the bull's back right there, because we were about to connect with a company called Eureka Records on BMG. You know what I'm saying? For the first single. And then Stevie B came in and just like, that's why I'm saying the legendary Stevie B, because of him, we did some legendary things.
How did then this album come together? Go back again. Who was the record label? Did you already have the music written beforehand? How did you choose which ones? And then how did you choose Let Your Backbone Slide as the first major hit to come out?
Because all I had was Let Your Backbone Slide at the time and a plethora of demo tapes.
Okay.
Right? All I had done, everything else was demos. Like from I'm Showing You, which was the first video we put on Much Music that got low rotation back in 1988. You know what I'm saying? And all I had recorded, besides the demo tapes we had, was Backbone Slide. That turned into vinyl. All right. And we connected with LMR to instead of just having a single deal, have an album deal. From that, all my old demos and stuff were coming. So I knew Drop the Needle was the next one. I knew it. That was a cool sample with the Haywire, Drop the Needle. I knew that was the next one. Putting it together, like my man, Marlon Bruce, AKA Ebony MC, we were in a group called Vision back in the days. So I was a big fan of Big Daddy Kane. So I saw what he did with Bismarck, what have you, like that. So I brought my homie, and we did a track called Just Swinging. And Just Swinging was just like old rhymes we had since 1985, 1986, And yeah, that was it. Peter and Anthony, I think Farley had to lock him in the studio because these guys are always running around. So I think he put a bolt on the door that they couldn't leave, just brought them food, and they had to stay in the studio for 2 weeks until we got that album done, man, Definitely.
Did you when Let Your Backbone Slide came out? I always saw it as major radio stations weren't playing it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I always looked at major radio stations weren't playing it, but A, college radio was, and B, Mike Williams being a major factor in having that played on Much Music and just Much Music in general, because Much Music was very much about helping to push artists. Explain how that worked for you.
In 1989 was a pivotal year for hip hop in Canada because that was the year Ron Nelson officially left hip hop and went over to strictly dance hall. You know what I'm saying? I know Ron from 82, 83, 84, all the way to I finally get my deal. Now time is on, you know, on and popping. I wasn't really getting radio commercial. Sorry, I wasn't getting college radio love anymore. It was at all. It was from it went from all my demo tapes were cool. My guy who was like a mentor to me, he shifted, he went over to dance hall, you know? And then there was like it was like changing of the guards with DJ X, who got that from Ron. And it was just like, okay, this is underground music. This is mainstream music, as opposed to, wait a minute, this is an artist who came up all this time, all these years before I even knew you. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm finally on like this, but I wasn't really getting that college love anymore at all. It was like the door closed on me, as opposed to me just feeling good for a hot minute. You know what I mean? Like one of us finally made it. It was like, nah, this is over here, and this is the next wave. And I never had a problem with commercial radio playing my projects because Let Your Backbone Slide was a hit. Much Music, shout out to Joe Goldberg who shot the video for it was a changing of the guard, man. It was definitely a changing of the guard because now you have like real videos on Much Music. You know, it wasn't just like what I did, what I'm showing you. It was like real videos, you know. Then I came back with Drop the Needle, that won Juno Award for Best Video. Are you kidding me? Like it was like I'm saying, the magnitude of that album is something that has been revised and minimized, because if you really look at it, you know, it's really something special, definitely.
Who did you tour with, and how much did that tour help you with your success?
So like when Young MC had Bust a Move, it was perfect. It was perfect timing because he didn't really do Canada yet, you know. So we toured with him across Canada. Like, holy smokes, that was fresh, you know. I was going to places like Vancouver for the first time, Saskatchewan, Edmonton, Calgary. Wow, you know. So that tour really opened up the door for me in terms of nationally being known, as opposed to just people see my music video and that's it. Now we're doing concerts across the country, you know. Because before that, you know, I opened up for like artists like UTFO, but that was back like in the early to mid 80s, you know. Beastie Boys, that's early to mid 80, you know. Later on, obviously like Big Daddy Kane, you know, Public Enemy, did a couple of shows with them. Chuck D, still a good friend of mine. But it was when I did the tour with Young MC across Canada, that was like, okay, it's official now.
You know that no matter what, and of course, being known as the godfather of Canadian hip hop, there is always love and respect. But then there are sometimes others who look and they envy your career. How did you deal with the respect? And then for some others, it's always that, you know, hating the player.
At the time, you got to give people a break because they didn't know how to give love. You know, there was no point of reference to be like, this is how you do it. You see what I'm saying? I mean, in other words, you could look at like a brother like LL. I use a lot as an example. I'm a huge LL Cool J fan. Before Def Jam, there was Motown. Before Motown, there's Chess Records. There's like a history of Black artists in Canada. Sorry, there's a history of Black artists in America that sell records. You see what I'm saying? In Canada, not necessarily so. You see what I'm saying? So here I come out of Scarborough. I got this banger right here like this. And a lot of people just gave it love for the fact it was dope. A lot of people gave it love for the fact I'm one of them. And a lot of people was an awkward situation. Like, how do I give love when I feel I'm just as good as this dude, you know? So, you know, that's the way it is. And I think that that energy really permeated across a couple decades when you think about it, because to be honest, you know, when you think about it, Rudy, my album came out in 1989. It took close to a quarter of a century before that was exceeded in terms of sales. Do you understand what I'm saying? It took close to a quarter of a century before Symphony In Effect was exceeded in sales. That means that all these labels, all of them, you know, you had artists who were supposedly better than me, and who some of them I do feel were better than me. No matter what you did, no matter how dope their music was, you labels couldn't have these artists exceed in sales what I did back in '89. Do you see what I'm saying? At all. It wasn't until my brother Carter now connected with Akon, you know what I'm saying, that things really changed, and you know, my first album, Let Your Back Most Like, got exceeded. So that's why I feel in a lot of ways it's like a love-hate relationship when it comes to me with the Toronto hip-hop industry, because it didn't matter if you had Black music departments developing all of them. It didn't matter if it was Warner Brothers, Universal, BMG, Sony. It didn't matter. Like, you guys have rooms that you sit and you market and you promote. You know you got the talent, but you couldn't make that talent exceed what I did back in '89. I feel that there was some type of it had to bug you. That would bug me. I'd be like, it can't just be Maestro. It got to be somebody else too. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why I feel the way I do. And it's a natural feeling, because I feel the same way, especially if you have a competitive spirit. And I feel because of that, a lot of times people try to minimize and revise the magnitude of my first album. So let's talk about the first album here. Symphony In Effect was the first album from a Black Canadian artist to go gold and platinum in Canada. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? This is Black music history that we're documenting right now. You know, I just use an example of my brother LL Cool J. LL Cool J has 10 times more hits than I do. He could have 10 times more talent than I do. But LL Cool J was not the first Black artist in America to do that. Do you see what I'm saying? Neither was Jay-Z, who came later. Neither was whoever your favorite hip hop artist is, you know? Jazz, you know what I'm saying? Miles Davis sold 10 times more talented than me. You see what I'm saying? Millions of records sold more than me, but he wasn't the first Black artist in America to do that. In this country where I was born and raised, I'm the first Black artist to ever do that. So it's not, all I'm saying is I ain't Diddy, but I ain't doo-doo. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to acknowledging, just do the right thing. Just respect the architects, because that's what I've been doing all the time. I'll accept that artists got better than me, but just accept the fact it took a quarter of a century for you to outsell what I've done. And it has nothing to do with the artists, because the artists, not only they're my friends, you know, I look up to those artists, even if they came up after me. It was the fact that the labels couldn't, for whatever reason, do that. Do you see what I'm saying? It didn't matter if they were merging together, Southern touch, Northern touch, Western touch, Eastern touch, whatever, for whatever reason, right? And I say this respectfully, but nothing exceeded Symphony In Effect for a quarter of a century, close to a quarter of a century. And in terms from a Black music perspective, we have to really look at that and really embrace that and celebrate. So when you talk about heritage, I'm all about longevity. I'm all about perseverance, and I'm all about Canadian heritage. And this album, and from a legacy perspective, is definitely Canadian heritage, man. So like I said, I got to thank my producers. I got to thank, you know, commercial radio that gave it love. All my fans, definitely, because, and all the MCs who, like I said, these are like my friends coming up after me, you know, but we have to document our history. And this is something that's been overlooked for whatever reason, you know? And I'll be honest, if I was working in one of the majors and I know that the artists I have murder Maestro Fresh West, but I can't have these artists exceed what Maestro did in sales-wise decades ago, it's going to bother me. It's going to bother me. So that's why I feel there's a love-hate relationship. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But you can't ignore what the album did. And you know what I'm saying? And we have to be real with ourselves. I have to be real with myself and accept the fact that artists have got better than me. I have to accept the fact that they will eventually sell more records than me. But let's be real. Labels, all you labels, have to accept the fact it took close to over 2 decades for Symphony In Effect to be exceeded. So that being said, we should celebrate that, because especially in the 50th anniversary of the genre, and you don't hear me talk like this all the time. I just usually stay quiet, and because I believe humility is a skill that we have to work on. But if not, our egos will contaminate us. But I also feel, Rudy, there's humility, then there's stupidity. And it'd be stupid of me not to mention to certain mans them every now and then who they're dealing with. Do you see what I'm saying? Because this is the only way we could grow. This is the only way we could document what we've done. This is the only way we could celebrate what we've done. I've accepted artists coming up, after me. I mean, Drake is like the Michael Jackson of his era. He's the artist of his generation. You see what I'm saying? That's a whole different stratosphere right there, where we're all looking at and be like, wow, I'm just glad that I'm around to see and witness what he's doing and all these artists afterwards. But if we're talking about heritage, if we talk about legacy, we got to document this. This is Black music history that we're doing. And another thing that you don't know about that I'm about to tell you, I got the Maestro Fresh West Scholarship that's being finalized right now, and the Maestro Fresh West Scholarship will be at the Nova Scotia Community College, the Akerley campus, because in 2016, the Akerley campus gave me an honorary diploma, right? And that is a school that deals with trades, all right? So we don't have a shortage of rappers, Rudy, but we definitely have a shortage of Black youth involved in the trades industry. Understand what I'm saying? Trades have been removed from schools, right? We could talk about this rapper, dapper, snapper stuff all day and how great we are, but what are we doing for the next generation coming if we're not being the best examples for them, right? Trades have been removed from the schools, right? Altogether. If we don't know how to use our hands, we're always going to be dependent on people. And if we're always dependent on people, we're always going to be slaves. So the way I am right now, I'm going to try, this is my contribution to helping our people. So it's specifically for Black youth involved in the trades. It's being finalized right now because these Black hands build pyramids, fam. And if we're talking heritage, we talking legacy, that's what's up right now. I've inspired generations, in terms of music, what have you, and I'm going to continue to. And guess what? Generations ahead of me, okay, who came after me, they're inspiring me too. Because I'm still trying to continue, doing some music, what have you. But there's more to it than just that. There's youth coming out, and not everyone's going to be the next Michael Jordan, and not everyone's going to be the next Michael Jackson. You feel me? So, but in the meantime, between time, if you learn how to use your hands, you could get you can go to college, get like a 2-year degree, 2-year diploma. You learn how to, that's guap in your pocket right there, fam. You see what I'm saying? We don't have to fake it until we make it with our streams alone. Of when you see 2 million streams, what does that mean in terms of dollars? I'm trying to help these youth coming up, right? While you're working on your music, it's not going to hurt to learn to use your hands, man. And I encourage other artists coming up to do the same. And if we work together like this as a community, we're unstoppable, man. Definitely.
You have always been unstoppable. I want to say thank you so much for allowing me to follow your career for so many years, and I can say decades too. You have always been an inspiration, and I know there's so much more going on with you and music, the entertainment industry, and just bringing the culture of Canadian culture to another level. Congratulations on this, and congratulations on everything else you're going to do in the future.
Enough respect to Polaris for having me, acknowledging me. Brand new album, Stick to Your Vision for Young Athletes, drops October 27th, man. Definitely.